Hello, everybody. So I did get a few emails this week asking some questions about the homework. And actually, there's also then been some follow-up questions because you're stressed about the test this week. So what I want to do is I'm going to go through a couple of the homework problems. The expectation for the test is that you'll simply use the chart that's provided right in MyLabs Plus if you're trying to find the probability of an event. And I want to remind you of where that's located in MyLabs Plus. So no, you don't need to carry in any sheets of paper that have that chart on there because that chart's provided and embedded right in the problems that you need. So what I've decided is I'm just going to pick a few of the homework problems, do them with you. I'm going to show you how I'm doing it on the graphing calculator because I think that that will be beneficial to some of you, and hopefully this helps you to prepare for the test a little bit. So bear with me because I'm going to be doing a lot of switching of screens, and then I'm also going to be doing some things on the document camera. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now so that we're all looking at the homework problems, one of the homework problems that you had to do. Okay, so find the area of the shaded region. The graph depicts the standard normal distribution with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. So you're going to go ahead, and if you notice that this chart here gives you the area to the left of Z. So you're going to look up your value of Z being 0.55. So it looks like this page, they're all negative. So I'll go to page 2, and I'm going to look up 0.5, and it's 0.55, so I got to come over, and let me go ahead and come straight across to 0.55, so it's this value here, 0.7088. Okay, so that's how we use that chart. Let's look at another one. Find the area of the shaded region, but this time it's to the right. The graph depicts the standard normal distribution of bone density with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. So what you're going to need to do is use that chart again. That's really strange that in this particular problem it's not right there. So you're going to need to go back to the previous page. I don't like that at all. That may be why you have some questions. And we're going to look up Z being negative 0.13. Now remember, when I look up negative 0.13, it's going to give me this side, and I actually want the other side. So how could we use what we know about the area under the normal curve? Well, we know that those two pieces together have to add up to 1. So I'm going to subtract the answer that I get from 1, and that should give me the correct area. So negative 1.13. So I'm going to go back. It's going to change my question, but we're going to just keep it. I'm going to write it on a sheet of paper. Negative 1.1. Okay, there's my negative 1.1. And I'm going to come over to the 0.03, so 0.1292. I'm going to write that down, and then I'm going to be sharing with you what I'm taking place over here. So let me redraw that. So here was 0. They wanted negative 1.13, and they wanted that. Okay, so come back. We're going to stop sharing this screen. I'm going to switch screens because I want you to look at the drawing. All right, so when we look up negative 1.13, we get 0.1292, but that's that piece over here. So to figure out this piece over here, I'll do 1 minus 0.1292. And let me grab my graphing calculator. 1 minus 0.1292, and it should be 0.8708. So that's how you're using the chart. Okay, so now let's look at another one. I'm going to share the screen again. And let's look at this homework problem. Find the area of the shaded region. The graph depicts the standard normal distribution of bone density scores with a mean 0 and standard deviation 1. So I can totally get now why you guys are asking me about these. Why are they not putting these on every single problem? Interesting. They used to always be there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw this on my paper. Okay, so we've got 0. They've got negative 0.93 and 1.24. Okay. So let me go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to show what we've got here now. Okay, and they wanted in between. Okay. Now, using the chart that MyLabs Plus is using in this section, the only way that you're going to be able to find out the shaded area in here, let me see if I can do this in color to help, is you're going to look up 1.24. That's going to give you this whole area. But that's not what you want. You want to actually subtract off that part of it. So to do that, then you're going to look up negative 0.93, which I'm trying to make pink, but it's not working, so let's just do a green marker. Is going to give you that slice of it there, and if I chop that off, what's left is in between. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to go back to the homework problem. I've got to go back down to number 2, which for whatever reason is the only one that has the table with it. So we're going to go ahead and look this up. When we look up negative 0.93, we're going to look up negative 0.9. We're going to come over. So we're at 0.1762. Then we're going to look up 1.24. Okay, so close that one out. Open this. 1.2. Come over to the 4.8925. I'm going to go ahead and let's switch over to this camera. So the area all the way over is 0.8925. And I just need to chop off what's to the left. So you're going to do 0.8925 and subtract off, though, 0.1762. And that will give you the area between the two. Okay, let's look at a different one. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so this one's working backwards. This is saying if I can give you the area, can you find the z-score? So if the area is 0.9854, you're looking in here for 0.9854. So we don't see it in that table. Okay, so we're getting close, 0.9854. There it is. So I'm going to slide over 2.18. 2.18. Okay, so hopefully this is making a little bit more sense now as to how you read the table. Okay, so the next section of your homework are the applications of this. So when you get to these problems, okay, you first need to find your z. So you take your x value, you subtract the mean, and then you divide that entire answer by the standard deviation. Okay, so for the first part of your homework, it's just having you identify those values. Then it's asking you to convert and then find the area. So if you look at this problem here, you need to change 125 into a z value first before you can use the table. So we're going to do 125 minus 100 all divided by 15. So that gives us 25 over 15, which is 1.67. And I'm going to stop sharing. And let me switch to this version. Notice I'm always rounding to 2 decimal places because that's what your table gives to you. Then the problems get a little bit more based on real life. So we know that the adults, so we're going to assume that they have IQ scores normally distributed, mean of 100, standard deviation of 20, and we want to know an IQ less than 132. Okay. So I'm going to write our information down. IQ less than 132. The mean is 100. Standard deviation is 20. I'm going to go ahead, since we've got the data there, I'm going to flip us back to my paper. And our first step is to find the z-value that goes with that. So we're going to take 132 and subtract 100. And divide that entire answer by 20. So we have 32 divided by 20. I can do that on my calculator. And I get 1.60 on the dot. I draw it. I always draw it so that I understand what I'm looking up. So 1, 2, 3. 1.6 falls right about here. And I want to know less than. And that's what the table is going to give to us. So let's jump back to the table. Share my screen again. So I'm looking up the value of 1.60. These are all negative values, so I need page 2. 1.60, 0.9452. So we should be able to enter 0.9452, and we got it. Okay, so that's what you're doing for each of those. I'm going to stop sharing again, and let's see if we can find another one. So a little bit more complicated of one was number 10, so let's look at that. This one had 2 different groups going on. You needed to change the women's heights, and then you also needed to change the men's heights. Okay, so 4 feet 8 inches, we need to convert the feet into inches because all the information up here is in inches. Okay, so from there, you get your z-score. You draw it, you look it up. Okay, so that is always going to be the process that you go through. So I now understand your frustration with some of these problems. I'm not quite sure what happened to the tables, except that maybe they're assuming that you're going to use your graphing calculator. So Jeff, shout out to you. I think that's exactly what your question was about. So what I'm going to do is email. What am I going to do? Let me think that through because I do want you to be able to use the table. You should be able to toggle between questions on the test, but I'm going to look into that. So for like these problems, central limit theorem, let me share my screen again. All that these problems were getting at was whether or not you have 1 or whether you've got 46. So whether you can just divide by sigma or whether you're going to divide by sigma over the square root of n when you go to find your z-score. Okay, so that was the bulk of that section. So finally, what I really want you to be able to do with confidence intervals is find the confidence interval on your graphing calculator. So let me share this screen. Last item that we're going to go over. X bar is 113, sigma's 20, n is 32. Construct a 95% confidence interval. So let me stop sharing. I want you to watch this on the graphing calculator. Okay, so we're going to go to stat tests, and you should see a z-interval. We hit enter. You either get this from a list or you get it from stats. And in this case, they've given you some stats. So here sigma is 20. X bar is 113. N here is 32. And we want to use a 95% confidence interval. So we will just say calculate, and it will give you the confidence interval. So it should be 106.07. And then 119.93. And we'll check the answer, and that is correct. Okay, so I've checked it in my Labs Plus, I just didn't toggle back. So some real basic things that I want you to be able to do with confidence intervals. I'm hoping this video helped a little bit, wasn't too lengthy. Please contact me if you have any other questions as you prepare for the test.